morning today? Well, good morning, everyone. So the theme for this month has been Spirit expressing as Mother, Father, God. And the title of today's message is More Than a Parent. And as I was watching the messages all this month and reviewing them, I did see that in addition to touching on the theme of Mother, Father, God, all the speakers also sort of weren't confined to that notion, that they understood that Spirit is more than that. And so I'm going to continue in that vein. I'll touch on Mother, Father, and explore beyond it as well. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. First, the earth was very, very hot. And at that time, there was no life on earth. There was nothing that we would consider biological life. There were no mothers. There were no fathers. But there was spirit, the thing itself, what Alan Watts called it, not having any really masculine or feminine principle at that time. And I did notice, again, that as people, as the speakers prior in this month were talking, they would line up sort of the attributes of a mother and a father. Well, here's all the mother attributes. Here's all the father attributes. Here's masculine and feminine. And I asked Randy Granger before he did his talk last week if that's the way those attributes line up in the cultures he's familiar with, the Native American cultures that his own and the ones he studied. And he said, no, not really. That's not the way we line them up. That's not the way we think about them. And during this last month, we heard about how, again, these masculine and feminine attributes can be exchanged, how women can claim their power, how they can be warriors, how can they can be protectors. And when we heard that, we didn't hear how, when they did that, they were in touch with their masculine side. But we heard when men are compassionate or nurturing or caring, how that they're being in touch with their feminine side. And I think that that's when we sort of accidentally go over the line from archetypes to stereotypes. That we don't have to be in touch with our feminine side to be nurturing. Women don't have to be in touch with their masculine side in order to be powerful or protective. So we have to watch out for that as we explore these things, not to fall into that idea of a stereotype rather than these archetypes of masculine and feminine. So as I say, when the earth started out, it was very, very hot, and there was no life, no biological life on earth. And that went on for about 1 billion years ago, and then it got kind of boring. And so there was the beginning of one-celled life. And this one-celled life reproduced by fission. It would just make copies of itself. So still no mothers, no fathers. And that went on for a while, and after a while that was no fun. And so these one-celled organisms learned the trick of exchanging DNA so that the next generation would be not a perfect copy of itself, but something different. And so now you could maybe speak of biological male and female, but you wouldn't really call a one-celled organism a mother or a father. I think you have to get at least to fish. All right, there's a mother fish, there's a father fish. You know, certainly you talk about a mother cat, and eventually you get to humans, and now you have mothers and fathers the way we think of them, and now you can sort of talk in terms of the archetypes and like that. How many people here remember the television series Father Knows Best? Yeah, just about everybody. Father Knows Best. Fun fact about Father Knows Best, and this I actually got from watching an interview with Robert Young, so I don't think you can even find this on the internet. This is like exclusive knowledge. When they were developing the series Father Knows Best, there was at that time an expression, Mother Knows Best. That, there, dear, Mother Knows Best. And so that title was actually a take or a takeoff on that expression. And in fact, the original idea was to have a question mark at the end of the title. And so as we think of Father Knows Best now, knowing where that came from, that may give you a different idea of what the title was all about. Now, in that series, Father Knows Best, there were the three kids. There was Betty, the eldest, who was called Princess. There was Bud, the middle child. And he had a name, but everybody called him Bud. No, you're thinking of Beaver. No. Bud was actually James Anderson Jr. And then there was Kathy, who was known as Kitten. And they all had different names for their parents, different ways of addressing them. Betty, the eldest, would call them Mother and Father. But Bud would call them Mom and Dad. And Kathy, the little one at the time, would refer to them as Mommy and Daddy. And as I was thinking of this theme, Spirit expressing as Mother, Father, God, I was thinking, well, that's awfully formal, Mother, Father. And what if we thought of Spirit as Mom and Dad? Spirit expressing as Mommy, Daddy, God. It's a different feel to it, isn't it? It's a different way of, a different kind of relationship with Spirit. Let's sit with that for a minute. Spirit expressing as Mommy, Daddy, God, or Mama, Papa. Now, as I thought of this, I thought, yeah, there's, instead of having this one kind of relationship, or these two kinds of relationship, to a mother and a father, and again, very formal, mother, father, as long as we're looking in the personal realm, as long as we're experiencing and thinking in the personal realm, let's go beyond that. And I was thinking, you know, if Spirit is everyone's mother, father, Spirit is our parents' mother, father. So Spirit is grandma, grandpa. That's a whole, if you walked around, lived your life, meditated, thought about Spirit as grandma, grandpa, that would be a whole different relationship with Spirit. And thinking about that, I went beyond that. Spirit as big brother, big sister, little brother, little sister, kid brother, kid sister. That's a hard one to get into, I think. Thinking of Spirit, thinking of God, the absolute, the thing itself, as our kid brother, as our kid sister. How would you relate to Spirit in that way? It's different, isn't it? It's very, very different. And again, not Spirit manifesting as if you actually have brothers and sisters, as your actual physical brothers and sisters, but in the same way, Spirit expressing as kid brother, kid sister, just as Spirit expresses as mother, father. And so we can explore. I offer this as an actual spiritual practice, not just as something interesting to think about, nice to think about for a few minutes on a Sunday, but as an actual spiritual practice. Practice for a week relating to Spirit as grandma or grandpa, as brother or sister, big brother, little brother, big sister, little sister. Spirit as friend. Think of that song, you know, a friend. Spirit as your friend. Neil Donald Walsh, in his Conversations with God series, eventually speaks of Spirit as his friend. Spirit is your friend, your pal, your chum, your buddy. Spirit is my buddy. Yeah? God is my co-pilot, and Spirit is my buddy. And again, to actually have this as a practice, it really, really makes a difference. Not to have a relationship with Spirit, but to have all these relationships with Spirit. But even as we do, even as we have all these relationships and think of them and practice them, there is a trap there. There is the trap of thinking Spirit solely in personal terms. The author Richard Dawkins, in his book, The God Delusion, I don't know if any of you have read it. Most of you, I think, may have heard of it. He's one of these, what they call the new atheists. And he describes what he calls the God of the Old Testament as a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully. And when he does that, he commits what's called a category error. He is applying human terms, human labels, to something that isn't human. And I can understand how he gets there, because when he thinks of the God of the Old Testament, he thinks of it in human, or him in human terms, because that's the way he had been brought up. But if we look at the God of the Hebrew Bible, rather than the Old Testament, look at it in that mode, we see that while there are some human metaphors in there, there are also many, many non-human metaphors. God is compared to an eagle, or a lion, or even a rock, or a refuge, or a fortress. These non-human ways of thinking of God. The Sistine Chapel, for all its beauty, is the wrong picture. The God of creation, the God of the Hebrew Bible, Ernest Holmes' thing itself is not a guy in the sky, not a guy at all, not a person at all, and yet it is, and we'll get to that. People ask, when thinking of this in this personal mode, well, how could a loving God, when a natural catastrophe happens, an earthquake or a tsunami, how could a loving God allow all these people to die at once? And my response is, well, they either all die at once or one at a time. If you think of God as a human being, your choices are mass murderer or serial killer. That's it. Those are the options if you look totally in terms of a personal God. But Ernest Holmes, you remember, says, God expressing as love, God expressing as law. Perfect love, perfect law. And so as impersonal law, we now see how that can happen. The tectonic plates under the ocean are under certain strains and stresses, and impersonal law dictates that they will relieve those stresses in a certain shift. And that shift releases a certain energy. And that energy enters the ocean according to impersonal law, and which eventually results in this big wave, which by impersonal law will result in all this destruction. Perfect love and perfect law. And so while we can relate in terms of all these personal relationships, we also have to remember it's also an impersonal thing. And this was sometime a paradox. Niels Bohr, the founding father, really, of quantum mechanics, once said, the opposite of a trivial truth is false, but the opposite of a great truth is also true. Difficult to understand. This was back in the day when a physicist could say mystical things like that. In fact, when Niels Bohr was knighted by the Danish crown, he took as his coat of arms the yin-yang symbol. Give you an idea of the kind of thinking he had. And so we live in the paradox. We live with the paradox. It's there. It both is and isn't these things, the thing itself. And I know that when some people hear that phrase, the thing itself, that phrase, that word thing, turns people off. It's like it's an object. It's not personal. But I think Ernest Holmes uses that phrase, the thing itself, the same way that Alan Watts refers to this it. As he said in the reading that you heard, not in the neuter sense of the mere object, but still more alive and far wider than the merely personal. And so we end up with this paradox. Mother, Father, God, but more than a parent, more than personal, other than personal. We end up seeing that it is not Mother, Father, and it is mother, father. It is not a brother or a friend. It is brother and friend. It is not personal. It is not impersonal. It is not all these things. It is all these things. A paradox to live with and to meditate on. And so it is not. And so it is.